end persistent poverty. That's the theme. And we remember that poverty has many facets, but it is always due to policies. It is never due to the people in poverty. It is due to the failure of policies to eradicate poverty.
Thank you, Peter, and good morning, everybody. I'm delighted to be joining you all this morning for the annual observation of the United Nations International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. Sustainable Development Goal number 1 is to end poverty in all its forms everywhere by 2030. That's in 9 years' time. If we take our own country, we know that despite relatively developed and wealthy, we still have far too many people living in poverty and persistent poverty. Far too many unable to manage day-to-day living expenses, particularly when it comes to putting a safe, secure and warm roof over their heads and healthy food on the table. The pandemic also showed us how quickly governments can act when the crisis affects them. The same attention must be given to those in constant crisis due to poverty. Now, as we reintegrate into society post-pandemic, we're being given an opportunity to rise and change this unequal world and bring hope, dignity, love, freedom and equality front and centre. And what better symbol of that change than the one chosen by the Irish 17th of October Committee, a butterfly. The concept of a butterfly emerging from its cocoon stemmed from the idea of us emerging from the confines of lockdown, better and more hopeful than we were before. The cocoon represents the trap of being caught within the cycle of poverty. A cycle that means shame, discrimination, stigma, trauma, debt, isolation, insecurity and stress. Hence these words being engraved on the t-shirts and images around this celebration. The lived experience of poverty must be at the heart of policy making, because it won't work if they're not. Those voices contribute so positively and effectively to solutions and decision making going forward. So our call today is to build a new, inclusive action to create a fairer society and future for everyone. This will be a positive step towards the change we seek, a change that will end poverty. Thank you.
Something inside so strong, I know that I can make it. So you're doing me wrong, so wrong. All of my pride was gone. Oh no, something inside so strong. The more you refuse to hear my voice, the louder I will sing. You hide behind walls of Jericho. Your lies will come tumbling. Deny my place in time. You squander wealth that's mine. My light will shine so brightly it will blind you. Because there's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it. Do you doing me wrong, so wrong? You told them my pride was gone. Oh no, something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong.
Whenever men and women are condemned to live in poverty, human rights are violated. To come together to ensure that these rights are respected is our solemn duty.
Áit be ina neirtar daoine faoi chuing an bhuachtain is soiríte a gcearta daoine. Tá sé de gcóilge salúnta orna a theachtanála chéile le cinnte go dtuachtain na cearta sin dóibh.
Là où les hommes sont condamnés à vivre dans la misère, les droits de l'homme sont violés. S'unir pour les faire respecter est un devoir sacré.
So first of all, I would like to say I don't think I'll measure up to the person that wrote this. So yeah, here it goes. there can be a few more important days in the international calendar for global citizens than today. A day when we join with our fellow citizens across the world, standing in solidarity with all those who live in conditions of extreme poverty and deprivation. We cannot eliminate global hunger by simply responding to immediate needs and crisis. Important though such intervention is, if we are truly to eradicate extreme poverty from our world, it must be done through the seeking of sustainable solutions, ones that will free and empower those living in poverty to build and craft better futures for themselves and their families. It is through enabling the capacity of those who are impoverished to create secure employment, achieve food sufficiency, and ensure the eradication of their young people that we will break the poverty cycle. And it is through breaking the poverty cycle that we will ensure that future generations can grow and flourish in a world that is fair, just and inclusive, respecting the rights and voices of its citizens.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Roslyn Blessing Makumba. I am an asylum seeker. I really wanted to be here to talk to you all. We are so many that are suffering in silence. In this time that you have given me to speak, it will not help only me, but help 100 or 1,000 others who gain from it. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I live in direct provision, which is a place where they put us like me who are seeking asylum. I live in this center until the government decides if we can stay. It's like being surrounded by a fence, and you cannot leave until the government makes its decision, which can take many, many years. You live in these centers with no voice, no future. You have no independence and no freedom. It is not an easy journey coming to a country when you don't have anybody. To my brothers and sisters who are in the same situation, to anyone here who is struggling, if you are feeling lonely, life is difficult, don't feel like you are alone. You are never alone. There is someone out there you can talk to. We all need a friend, not just someone who gives us money or clothes. Someone who inspires us, who gives us courage, who tells us, you can do it. We can do it. We can do it with the support. This gives me life. If you can find someone to speak to or someone you can help, it makes you feel at home. You don't feel so lonely. You should never lose hope. Where there is life, there is hope. Thank you so much.
Sorry. Hey, my name is Emery. I would like to take this chance to thank AGT Ireland for everything they do for me. I am with them nearly 20 years. They showed me how to use my voice. But I grew up in the city centre. My mother had 9 kids, 4 boys and 5 girls. Things were very, very hard growing up, as we were very poor. My father was an alcoholic, and he was very, very violent. He would get paid for my mother and the 9 kids, and he would never come home. We would be starving with the hunger. My poor mother, what was she to do? She would go down to the pub to ask him for the money, but he would never give it. She would come home penniless. Her poor 9 kids. He used to come home and start murder. After a while, my brother would fight with my dad, standing up for us. He was my hero. Addiction went through our family. 8 out of 9 went on drugs. It was a sad, lonely life in the streets. I soon got to learn the ropes and the ins and outs. I used drugs with all my brothers and sisters. We would go robbing for our money. I was on drugs for 30 years. I'm 45 years old now. We all grew up and had our own family. Thank God today I'm back on the road to recovery. It isn't easy, I can tell you that, but I'm going to start trying for myself and my children. Today I'm trying to help others who are going through the same stuff I went through. We need to try and support ourselves, and we need to all have a voice. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christina Power, and I'm going to talk to you about my life in the homeless house. First, let's go back to the beginning so everyone understands my story. When I was 3.5, my brother, my baby sister and I were taken into foster care, and we spent our lives there. My brother and I got moved around a lot, but my sister was the lucky. She got to stay with the one family all her life. When I was 7, there was a family who offered my brother a home a month before me, and after a while they fostered me too. So we were back together. I didn't have the best start in life as I was moved from home to home. Then I met my Jimmy. Jimmy was a new person in the hostel. He was there about a year before we became friends. And one weekend my best friend thought it would be funny to have a chat with him and ask him did he like me as I liked him a lot. Thank God Jimmy felt the same way. We went out on a date just to see how things would go, and 4 years later we are now married and happy as ever. Now that we are married, we could not live in the same hostel anymore, so the staff got us an apartment. It was our first home together and we loved it. As I was in the homeless service for 7 years and a half, and Jimmy never lived on his own before. We did not know how to live on our own, but we soon learned. Unfortunately, as time went on, my depression got worse and things ended up so bad that we lost our apartment. We are now back on the streets, nowhere to go. We turned to the homeless service, but we were told no beds for couples, only single beds. We wanted to stay together as we were married at the end of the day. We eventually found a couple's bed in one of the worst hostels in town, but at least we were together. It took us 2 years and a long road, but Jimmy and myself are where we belong, together and happy as ever. We hope, with the hope of getting our own place one day. It might have took 2 years and a lot of fighting, but we got what we wanted, and that is to live together as husband and wife and be happy.
How do I follow what you've just heard? Only his voice. Oh my God, I'm still not over that. That voice and how appropriate, how our voice is important. And similar to others, I'd like to say thank you for having us here today. And we in Harvey Point Travel and Roma Centre are delighted to be involved in Eradicate Poverty Day. COVID-19 has served to highlight inequalities that exist, and we have seen how travellers in Roma have been more vulnerable during the pandemic. Not only do marginalised groups have poor outcomes in health, but also in education, accommodation, employment. Poverty is not about just not having money. It's about having equal access to education, employment, health, accommodation. If you have a low-paid job that'll impact on you, how you live, what you spend your money on. I know travellers that have said to me, I'm not interested in buying healthy food, I'm buying food to last me till this day next week, till I get paid again. And that's the reality.
We grew to a total of 7 in the end. We went on a holiday to Cabin and to Sunshine House. It was an organised by the Simon community. If I remember rightly, I remember waiting for the yellow ticket to come. Your yellow ticket was your pass to come to the station. No ticket, no go. I loved it. I must have gone 3 or 4 times. I wasn't the best pupil in my class at school. I think I was what you might now call the class clown. I didn't listen to the teacher very much. I'd be too busy making my friends laugh. I was allowed to make my confirmation and then I was thrown out of school. I was 12 years of age. We were poor back then, but we didn't know it. Everyone was in the same boat. Keep your fingers crossed for me. There are 17 substantial development goals, as you all know, and a number 4 calls for good education. I am an example of what happens when there isn't good education, when little 12 years old get left behind. Let's not leave any more children behind. Thank you.
Must the man walk down before you can call him man? And how many seas must the white dove sail before she can sleep in the sky? And how many times can a cannonball fly before it is forever gone? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. And how many years must a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? And how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? And how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. And how many times can a man look before he can see the sky? And how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? And how many deaths will it take to know that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
This poem was written by my wife, and the first poem is called I'm Still Here. Sometimes I find it difficult from under my mask to let people know I'm open up for a laugh. My face all contorted with that ridiculous task. I want people to know I'm trying to smile. Sometimes I need absence to escape for a while, to gather my thoughts, to pause and reflect, to try to make purpose of the whole damn mess, only to be drawn to anxiety and stress, a state of affairs I do detest. So with a polite feck off, I voice my protest. If only for a moment, I feel the heaviness leave my chest. Draw deep on this refreshing breath. It's a hard task to raise a smile from behind the mask.
Here I am. I'm a big, alright, and I'm struggling, I'm working away, and I'm coming out, and I'm fluttering. Now spread around, spread it around, spread it around. We're all fluttering away here. Right? Hold those up. It's time for change. It's time for change. It's time for change.